Hey yo, what's up everybody? So today we're talking about Wuthering Waves version 2.7, the finale of the Rinascita arc. First and foremost, let me go ahead and get this out of the way. Spoilers, duh. Secondly, these are just my thoughts after having just played the quest. This is not a kind of lore deep dive or anything like that. So in this story, man, there were several things that blew me away and I really enjoyed. I mean, there was a few things I didn't like here and there, but overall, man, the quest was great. When it came to Avidius, I love what they did with him, man, because, you know, in my last lore recap, I talked about Avidius. I talked about how compelling his story was, and I talked about, you know, how I hope they continue to put him in the story, and they kind of fulfilled my expectations to a degree. We first saw Avidius way back in, what was that, Act 8? For me, it was pretty much apparent. He had a unique NPC design, so I was like, it's pretty apparent that he's either going to die or somehow become a villain. And he did both. He did both. It was a story that was so befitting of a character from Septima. It was a tragic story, like a tragic hero. And the story was just so interesting. And it's so sad because, you know, he finally found purpose in life. He finally found, you know, his autonomy. And just when he found his autonomy, it was like, nope, you don't get to be happy. But yeah, man, that part was really cool, man. I really enjoyed it. One part about that though, I'm kind of like sad. I'm kind of disappointed. And that was when Rover put Avidius' spear down where he defeated him. And sadly, that spear, you know, after the cutscene, I turned around to see if the spear was there. It wasn't. It was just there for the cutscene. I'm like, no, you don't have a memorial. You just kind of like threw him in the garbage. It was like, he's done. But anyway, another interesting point that I found was there were some breadcrumbs to the overarching frame story of the game. So of course, we're in the Rinascita arc right now, but the frame story of the game involves Rover and Rover's story and the lament. And one of those things that I remember was that in this particular quest, the woman we see at the very start of the game, we see her in this quest, which is very fascinating to me. I call it a breadcrumb because I don't really think that that is Imperator. I mean, it might be. It might have been Imperator's human form, but something about it just didn't seem like that to me, for a few reasons. Maybe I'll get into that in another video, but that was really interesting to see, man. But one of my favorite parts of the story was seeing Grandpa Montelli. Grandpa Montelli was out there with the strap, laying people out. I was like, yo, that's what I'm talking about. And just seeing the Black Shores come in, man, seeing Alto jump in the picture, seeing Camellia in the background, doing what she's talking about, feed my blossoms. Yo, it was dope, man. That whole section had me so hyped, man. That whole section had me so hyped. Another thing that I thought was cool was how they brought Dreamlink back. And I criticized Dreamlink when they first dropped it, and for a number of reasons, man. I just felt like, you know, it didn't really do what I thought it was supposed to do. It kind of buffed these characters in some undefined way, but it didn't really feel like a lot was going on. But one of the things they did with Dreamlink this time that I thought was interesting was they used it to simulate other characters that are supposedly with you, to simulate their participation in the battle. And so I thought that was really cool, man. I thought that was a cool way to use it. Another thing too was Phrolova. You know, sidebar, in my video that Phrolova is still alive, most people or a lot of people agree with me, but there were some comments of people just saying, no, she's dead, she's not alive. I'm just like, how are you saying this? I've pointed out number of reasons why she's still alive. Anyway, this particular act confirmed what I said. So now all the people from that video who had these opposing viewpoints for no reason whatsoever, now they can understand that, yes, I was right. Even though there was no reason to think she wouldn't be. But whatever. Seeing her back was really cool. And towards the end of the quest, I feel like we kind of got like I don't want to say Easter egg, but maybe it was like a breadcrumb that'll lead to something in the future, which was, there was a photograph at the end where it shows all the characters of Rinascita, and these are all characters that were basically on, you know, the hero's side, on Rover's side. And in that image, off to the side, Phrolova is there, which made me think, At first I was like, oh, okay, I guess they're just showing images of characters who have been playable. You know what I mean? They're showing images of characters who've been playable throughout the Rinascita arc. But what made me feel like maybe there's a little bit more to that was at the end, Phrolova basically retired, yo. She retired from the Fraxidus. And so I was like, okay, so does this mean she is starting over like Rover, mentioned to her earlier? Does that mean that we're going to see her again and she's going to somehow be on our side for real this time? So that was really interesting. Of course, the cinematics for the fight scenes were always just really appreciated and compelling, but I do have to get into some things that I did not really enjoy that much about this quest. And one of those things was the level design, man. I felt like, why are you making these areas look like I can travel and traverse them? Making it look like I can explore when I really can't. It's kind of disappointing to be like, I wonder what's over there. You can't go over there. Oh, okay. Well, dang. All right, then. And another thing too is like the long goodbyes. You know what it felt like? It felt like you're with your parents and then they meet somebody that it's a friend of theirs and they just start a conversation and then they say goodbye like 50 times over the course of like 30 minutes. That's what it felt like. There was like a whole portion of the quest where everybody's saying goodbye and it felt like forever, like a whole hour of goodbyes, which I can't really be too mad at, because it is the finale, right? Some of these characters we may never see in a prominent position in the story ever again. Some of these characters we might not ever see in the game at all, unless it's like a small Easter egg here or there. But so I guess I can understand, I can appreciate it to a degree, so I can't take off any points for that. But there's one thing I can take off points for, and that's Galbrena's part of the story. Not playing as Galbrena, not her in the story, just, doing what she's doing. I'm talking about her backstory part of the story. I did not enjoy that at all. That was very, very slow and very annoying. Literally standing in the same spot for like 10 minutes straight at different points in time, waiting for something to happen. Looking at a static image or looking at two characters standing in front of each other for like 7-8 minutes of time. It was so boring. And it's not that the story could not have been compelling, but the way they chose to tell it was very boring, which is disappointing for me because usually the game tells stories very well. They usually do a great job for this particular genre of game. Wuthering Waves is top tier in terms of how they tell the story. But yeah, not for that part. It was bad. It was terrible. So I will have to take off a point for my rating for that. The other thing was the details. I feel like some things just weren't really that complicated, but they kind of like, over-explained it, or they explained it in terms that are kind of needlessly confusing or long-winded. And so it kind of made it where certain parts that when you actually continue the story, you realize, oh, okay, somebody else said it, but they used these particular words that were much easier to understand, and now everything makes sense. So why didn't you just say it that way? Why did you make it where it's challenging to understand what they mean because you're using all these different ways to say it when it's really simple? It's a simple concept. So that was a little bit annoying. I'll take off half a point for that. Overall, I give this quest an 8.5 out of 10. The quest was really good, man. I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed all the characters that they brought back, the conclusion to Avidius' story, the Easter eggs they dropped in here and there. Man, it was really good, man. I don't know how you guys felt about it. Oh, also too, another thing is the set pieces, dude. The set pieces looked so good. Again, we could not explore the vast majority of them. There was nothing to find, no chests to obtain, nothing to get, no puzzles to solve in most of these set pieces. The set pieces were just kind of like there, basically a backdrop to what's going on. But they were very well designed. But anyways, man, as you can tell, I really enjoyed it. Let me know what you guys think. What's your favorite part of the quest? What was the thing that you liked the most? But that's gotta be all for me, man. I just wanted to share my experience with you guys. And until the next time, I'll catch you in the waves. Peace.